Have you ever noticed that the people who love the hardest are usually the ones who go the quietest when they're hurt? They don't slam doors. They don't send long texts trying to prove a point. They don't argue until somebody finally gets it. Instead, something just shifts. Quietly, almost invisibly. Their replies get shorter. Their laugh gets a little softer. They start slipping out of conversations they used to love. And from the outside, it looks like they've stopped caring. But inside, a completely different story is playing out. Maybe you've done this yourself. Somebody said something that cut deeper than they realized. You wanted to explain why it hurt. But the words just wouldn't come. Every sentence felt too small to hold what you were feeling. So you went quiet, not because the pain wasn't real, but because speaking suddenly felt impossible. And here's the thing. This is one of the most misunderstood things people do. We assume pain is supposed to be loud, so when someone goes silent instead, we call them cold, distant, checked out. But psychology tells a deeper story. Sometimes silence isn't the absence of emotion. Sometimes it's what emotion looks like when the mind gets completely overwhelmed. Welcome back to Deep Ravines Psychology Lab. Stay with me till the end, because the people who say the least about their wounds usually aren't the ones who feel the least. So let's start with something that might surprise you. When you get hurt, it feels like your parcels. Choosing how to react. Some people argue. Some walk away. Some cry. Some go completely silent. But a lot of that isn't as intentional as we think. Before you're even aware of it, your brain has already started making fast decisions to protect you. You've probably heard of fight or flight. If your brain senses a threat, it gets you ready to either face it or run. But that's only part of the picture. There's also freeze, where your body just goes still, because fighting and running both feel impossible. And there's fawn, where you try to keep the peace by pleasing people and putting your own needs last. Here's the key. These responses weren't built only for physical danger. Your brain often treats emotional pain, rejection, betrayal, criticism, like a real threat to your survival. And there's a reason for that. For most of human history, belonging to a group kept you alive, so getting cut off can light up a lot of the same wiring as physical danger. That's where the quiet response comes in. Instead of fighting or running, some people pull inward. They stop explaining. They avoid the hard conversations. Not because they don't care, but because their nervous system has flipped into a mode where saying less feels safer than risking more pain. So going quiet isn't a character flaw. For a lot of people, it's a deeply wired survival response. And that changes the question. Instead of, why won't they just talk? We can ask something kinder. What taught their brain that silence was the safest place to hide? Now let's go a little deeper into the brain itself. One of the biggest myths about emotional silence is that it's always a choice. We assume that if someone really wanted to explain themselves, they just would. But under intense stress, your ability to turn feelings into words can actually shut down for a bit. So sometimes, it's not that a person won't talk. It's that, right then, they can't. Deep in your brain, there's a small, almond-shaped part called the amygdala. It's tiny, but powerful. Its job is to scan for danger and sound the alarm. It doesn't ask, is this fair? It asks one thing. Am I safe or am I under threat? When it reads something like rejection or harsh criticism, as a threat, it fires off fast, getting your whole body ready to protect itself. Meanwhile, there's another part called the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the calm, reasonable one. It handles logic, planning, and turning thoughts into clear words. It's what helps you pause and choose what to say. But when emotions get too big, the amygdala can get so loud that it basically drowns out the prefrontal cortex. Researchers sometimes call this an amygdala hijack. The brain drops complex reasoning and goes all in on survival. And in those moments, finding the right words feels almost impossible. Not because the feelings aren't there, but because your brain is spending everything on protection, not conversation. That's emotional overload. Thoughts get tangled. Sentences fall apart before you can say them. And that's why telling someone to just talk about it doesn't always help. For a brain in overload, talking can feel like solving a puzzle, while an alarm's blaring in your ears. Here's another piece. Not everyone feels things at the same volume. Two people can go through the exact same thing, a sharp comment, a broken promise, and walk away carrying completely different weight. One shakes it off in a couple hours, the other's still replaying it days later. And that's not just being too sensitive. Often, it's about how deeply the mind processes what happened. Psychologists talk about emotional sensitivity, feeling things more intensely, and picking up on small cues most people miss. A change in tone, a text that took too long to come back. For a sensitive person, those carry real weight. Their brain isn't making it up. It's just taking in more emotional information. That leads to what researchers call deep processing. Instead of reacting right away, these folks analyze it from every angle. They replay the conversation. They study the look on someone's face. They question their own reaction. That depth can make someone incredibly empathetic, but it also makes painful moments much harder to put down. And as the mind keeps searching, overthinking takes over. Did I say something wrong? Were they disappointed? Should I have handled that differently? Every thought spins off another one. When that loop keeps going, it becomes rumination, circling the same wound over and over, without ever landing anywhere. Unlike healthy reflection, rumination rarely brings peace. It just keeps the wound open. So a lot of quiet people don't react in the moment. It's not that it didn't hit them. It's that it hit so deep, their mind is still busy with it, long after everyone else moved on. The quietest person in the room might be carrying the whole conversation inward, where every word gets replayed and every unanswered question just echoes. Now let's go back. Way back, because our responses to pain don't start in adulthood. Long before we fall in love or learn how to handle conflict, our brains are already collecting evidence about one big question. What happens when I show how I feel? And a lot of those answers come from childhood. For some kids, emotions are welcome. When they're scared, they get comforted. When they're sad, someone notices. Over time, their brain learns a simple lesson. It's safe to feel things out loud. But not every kid grows up with that. Some hear things like, "Stop crying, you're too sensitive, it's not a big deal." Others reach out for comfort and get ignored. Psychologists call this childhood emotional neglect. And it doesn't mean the parents were villains. Often, it just means a child's inner world got overlooked, again and again. There's a well-known idea called attachment theory. It suggests that kids build their earliest expectations about relationships through repeated moments with the people who raise them. Those moments become a kind of internal blueprint for trust and safety. When emotion is met with warmth, kids grow up expecting that being open is safe. But when their needs keep getting dismissed, a very different lesson takes root. The brain starts building what we might call learned safety. It keeps asking, what keeps me protected? And if being honest kept leading to rejection, the nervous system starts linking silence with safety. Over time, going quiet stops being a decision and becomes automatic. This can also feed hypervigilance, where the brain gets unusually alert to any sign of emotional danger, a shift in someone's voice, a disappointed look. Before the thinking mind even catches up, the nervous system's already bracing. And for a lot of people, that bracing doesn't come out as anger. It comes out as silence. Now, this doesn't mean everyone who goes quiet had a hard childhood, and your past doesn't permanently decide who you are. But understanding these early patterns lets us trade judgment for compassion. Sometimes the adult who can't find their words isn't choosing silence. They're running a strategy their brain picked up years ago. Here's where it gets tricky though. Silence is so easy to misread. We judge what's going on inside people by what we can see on the outside. So when someone pulls back after getting hurt, our mind rushes to explain it, and those explanations are often wrong. A partner thinks, they don't love me anymore. A friend decides, they're just being cold. Some people even read the silence as a weapon, a way to punish or control. And sometimes, those readings are accurate. But a lot of the time, they miss something much more human. The person who's gone quiet might not be trying to hurt anyone. They might be struggling to understand their own feelings before they can explain them. Inside, it's loud, replaying the conversation, second-guessing themselves, scared that saying the wrong thing will make it worse. From the outside, all you see is silence. Inside, it's anything but. And this is where a painful cycle starts. The quiet person pulls back because they're overwhelmed. The people around them read it as rejection, so they get hurt too, and pull away in return, which makes the quiet person feel even more alone, confirming the belief that opening up isn't worth the risk. Nobody meant to create distance, but both sides end up feeling misunderstood. Understanding this doesn't mean excusing every silence. Healthy relationships still need honesty and real conversation. But when we realize silence can be the language of an overwhelmed nervous system, not proof of a cold heart, we get more curious instead of more critical. But let's be clear about something. Silence isn't the enemy. Some of the healthiest emotional choices start with a little quiet. The real question is knowing the difference between silence that heals and silence that hides. From the outside, they look identical, but they take you in opposite directions. Healthy silence creates space, not distance. After you've been hurt, stepping back for a bit lets your nervous system settle. As the intensity drops, your prefrontal cortex, that calm, reasonable part of it, comes back online. You can think clearly again and respond on purpose instead of on impulse. The goal isn't to dodge the problem, it's to come back to it with a clearer head. People who use silence this way are still emotionally in it. Their quiet is temporary, and it has a purpose. Harmful silence goes the other way. Instead of making space to heal, it becomes a place to hide. Feelings stay unspoken, not for hours, but sometimes for months. Conversations get avoided because they feel too scary. The pain gets pushed down, where it slowly turns into resentment, numbness, or a quiet loneliness. What started as self-protection becomes isolation, and it's hard to catch because it feels safe. Avoiding conflict brings quick relief, but it rarely brings real peace. Here's a simple question that can help. Is my silence helping me get ready to connect, or helping me escape it? If your quiet gives you the strength to come back with more understanding, it's probably doing its job. But if every stretch of silence leaves you feeling more cut off from other people and from yourself, it might not be protecting you anymore. It might just be protecting the fear. So if you've seen yourself in this video, the goal isn't to force yourself to blurt out every feeling the second you have it. Silence isn't the problem. The question is whether it's helping you process or keeping you from ever sharing. Let's talk about a few small things that help. First, just notice the pattern. Next time you feel yourself going quiet, don't judge it. Get curious. Ask, what is my nervous system trying to protect me from right now? That tiny shift, from criticizing yourself to just observing, can actually turn the emotional volume down. Second, name the emotion, not the story. Instead of, they don't care about me, ask, what am I actually feeling? Disappointment, rejection, shame, fear. Research suggests that just putting a feeling into words can help bring the calmer parts of your brain back online, which makes big emotions easier to handle. You don't need the perfect answer. Naming it is enough to start. Third, delay your response without avoiding it. If the emotion's too intense, give yourself permission to step back, not to escape the conversation, but to get ready for it. Try saying, I need a little time to process this, but I do want to come back and talk. That one sentence reassures the other person while giving your nervous system room to recover. Fourth, if speaking still feels impossible, write before you speak. A journal, a note on your phone, even a letter you never send. Writing slows everything down and makes tangled feelings a lot easier to sort out. And finally, remember this. Healing rarely happens in total isolation. The brain learns emotional safety through relationships, not away from them. You don't have to open up to everyone. You only need one safe person. Someone who listens without rushing to judge you or fix you. Little by little, that teaches your nervous system a new lesson. Being vulnerable doesn't always lead to pain. Sometimes, it leads to being understood. People handle pain in different ways. Some raise their voice because their emotions need to be heard. Some cry because tears say what words can't. Some walk away, hoping distance makes it hurt a little less. And then, there are the ones who go quiet. Not because they love less. Not because they care less. And definitely not because the pain is any lighter. Sometimes they go quiet because, somewhere along the way, their nervous system learned that silence felt safer than being vulnerable. So without ever really deciding to, it chose protection over expression. And understanding that doesn't make silence the healthy answer every time. Real relationships still need honest conversations and the courage to actually be there. But when we see that silence can be a survival strategy instead of a character flaw, we trade judgment for compassion. And compassion is usually where healing starts. So maybe next time someone you love goes unusually quiet, you'll pause before deciding they've stopped caring. And if you're the one who always carries your pain in silence, remember, that was never weakness. It was your mind protecting you with the tools it had at the time. Here's the hopeful part. The brain can learn new patterns with awareness, with safe relationships, and with real experiences of being understood. Silence doesn't have to be your only refuge anymore. Bit by bit, it can go from an instinct to a choice. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, or someone who matters to you, take a second to subscribe to Deep Ravines Psychology Lab. And if you want to keep going, stay for the next one, where we look at why the people who seem the strongest are so often the ones who struggle the most to ask for help. Take care of yourself. And take care of the quiet ones around you. They may be saying more than you think. Deep Ravines Lab Protocol. Characters and stories are AI-generated for motivational insights. 2. Content is curated for entertainment and exploring the messiness of human psyche. 3. No proselytizing or harmful content.